the next big thing, I suppose, is that Harold finds himself in Normandy. Now, the details of that are, some say it was deliberate, that he had a couple of hostages from his family were residing in Normandy, and he'd gone over to try and negotiate their return. Some say that's nonsense. He was simply on a fishing trip on the south coast.
The boat had been blown out to sea, and
and we don't know because the tapestry is very ambiguous. It just doesn't. It's just not clear. And the sources we have, again, don't explicitly say one way or another what it was. But I think, and it seems from the preponderance of modern scholars, that it was an accident. He never meant to do that.
Why would he?
Right.
What good was that?
How is it in his interest to do that? Yeah. Seems that maybe he was just accidentally swept across the channel. Because he ends up, it seems, whether it's shipwrecked or not, he ends up on the coast of Normandy or Picardy or wherever. One of the smaller counts captures him and is trying to ransom him back to, well, whoever will pay the most money.
Yeah.
And Duke William of Normandy pays the ransom. And so he's now in
the hole.
Yeah. Now we're talking about 1064 now.
Yeah.
So William the Conqueror, William the Bastard, is full-blown adult and a full-blown, tried and tested warrior duke. He's had loads of battles. He's been fighting battles since he was like 15 years old, personally. Getting stuck in. And he's a real, as anyone who knows anything, knows that he's the real deal when it comes to fighting and things.
It's not to say that Harold isn't.
No, Harold definitely is.
Yeah, exactly. And I recall reading a thing about how they went hunting or something like that, and Harold impressed everyone with his hunting skills and stuff like that. So, okay, well, you can see how, like, the tension's building, where you've got, like you say, the real deal on both sides, and say, this is going to come to blows. And then we've got Harold Hardrada, who, again, is the real deal. This we'll do an episode on him, because fascinating character, easily one of my favorite characters in all of history, actually, just because he's a madman, just this maniac adventurer, but definitely the real deal as well. So, like, you've got all these very serious people who have had very serious lives coming together, and it makes 1066 actually quite a clash of the titans, to be honest.
No, absolutely. Absolutely that.
Really, it's mad.
So one thing historians sort of argue about is, to what extent then, if at all, is Harold Godwinson a prisoner, a hostage of Duke William at this point? Because, as we've mentioned in all sorts of things, since ancient times, you could be a hostage of someone, but still be treated with extreme lavishness. And you're not physically imprisoned in a cell, not remotely. You're treated as a very highly valued guest. But you're not allowed to leave.
Yeah. But that's what being a hostage was in ancient times, because it was about building relationships. It was about building alliances and things like that. So it didn't have the necessary connotations that we think of as hostages, and you're bound and gagged.
Right.
That's absolutely not what it was. But yeah, it's hard to tell, isn't it? But I mean, ultimately, he probably would have been completely within William's power.
Yeah. It's pretty clear that he wasn't being allowed to go back to England. However, not only was he treated well, but he was obviously put on a pedestal. So there's account of him, or it seems that they went hunting at one point, and Godwinson sort of acquits himself very well. Even, it seems, William of Normandy went on some small campaign that summer, just to sort of put down a castle or two in, like, Maine or somewhere. And again, Godwinson goes with him, and again acquits himself perfectly well. And so eventually it seems that William the Conqueror sort of said, look, I'll let you go, but remember in 1051 when the Confessor said, I'm next. When that happens, because he's an old man, when he dies, you're going to be my man in England. You're going to, you're
going to
stand behind my claim.
And
again, we don't know if exactly that played out or not, but we think that that's sort of how it went.
But it's not unlikely.
No, it makes sense. It doesn't make perfect sense, that.
It's not an unreasonable or unlikely thing. And even from Harold Godwinson's position, because he has no legitimate claim, and the Normans have been deeply involved with English politics. It's entirely likely that Edward did say, I want William or a Norman for whatever reason, it's entirely likely he did say this. And so it's not at all beyond the realms of, it doesn't beg a belief in any way, shape or form to me.
No, absolutely right. And of course, William of Normandy is not Anglo-Saxon, but his aunt is Emma of Normandy, or was Emma of Normandy. Yeah. So he's got very, very, very close ties with it. Yeah. Far more than Harold Godwinson, who is the grandson of nobody.
but also Edward grew up in the Norman court. William's father would have known Edward very well, right?
Yeah.
He was the one protecting him. He was the one to look after him.
Yeah.
So it's entirely possible they knew each other. And so it's hard to believe there's just nothing there. That's the thing. It's very complicated. And, again, it makes Godwinson look like a bit of a usurper, I've got to say.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. And no, Edward the Confessor and William of Normandy would have certainly known each other. Certainly. From William's earliest memories, Edward the Confessor was like an exiled son of the late Ethelred the Unready that's just sort of residing in Rouen or wherever. So eventually it seems, although we don't know this for 100% certain, but it does seem that William the Conqueror sort of extorted something out of Harold Godwinson and said, okay, fine, go home.
Yeah.
And he does, he releases him.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.